episode here on 1950's Farm. How are you all doing? Hope you're all having a good day. My day is not going so bad, but I am exceptionally tired today. Excuse me and forgive me if there's not a great deal of energy today. So yesterday I had to do a little bit of walking. I know, how lazy of me. But unfortunately, when I do quite a bit of walking, it does tire me out, and it makes the next day quite challenging. So plenty of heart symptoms, really tired, out of breath a lot, but hopefully within a day or so should recover and be back to my old self again. But yeah, so it's just normal behaviour really, to say once that kind of happens, but it should be fine. But yeah, so I hope, as I say, you're all doing well and all having a good day. Bit of a late start for me this morning at 9:15, but like I say, I've been very tired and sort of just sitting about really, which is terribly lazy of me, I do realise, but it's kind of days like today that for me highlight just how different life is to say 15 years ago, when I would be sort of in the winter time on the farm, I'd be walking around and doing we on the first farm that I worked on, the winter jobs would include leveling out the grain in the grain stores by hand. So you'd have like a long piece of wood and then like a metal plate that goes straight down, and you would literally use that to drag the wheat sort of into the holes and level it all off, and then once you got it leveled off, you would then sort of move on to the next grain store, and there'd be 5 altogether, but it was a job that would last most of the that would last me probably a day or two, because obviously the grain stores are quite big. There's a lot of obviously grain to be moving around, and although I was physically capable of doing that job, it did again used to sort of I had to keep stopping to have a rest, to get my heart rate to come down, to then sort of whatever. But it was a job that the boss liked to give me, because I think because I was in the grain stores, because it was the middle of winter, so it's quite cold. So I'd have the grain doors shut. I'd have the extractor fans on for the dust, but I'd have the grain doors shut. And I think it was a case of he couldn't see me sort of keep stopping and having a rest, and so therefore he was sort of quite happy to leave me, to do it, as long as I didn't sort of take the mick and take 3 weeks to level 1 pile. I think he might have started to have got a little bit knocked off with that, but as long as I was sort of doing it within a reasonable time, or what he considered to be a reasonable time, he was okay with that. And then at lunchtime, because I don't wear a watch, I never have, probably never will, and yeah, so as I say, I don't wear a watch, and my colleague John, who I work with, and Ray, one of those would come and get me for lunch, and then I'd go and have a lunch with the boys in the workshop with the big jet heater. Huge, massive, well, I used to call it the jet heater because it was shaped like a jet engine, and it went from sort of -10 to +50 in the workshop in about 2 minutes. It was just like, it was an amazing heater. Jesus, was it powerful. So yeah, that was sort of the go and have my lunch, a bit of a warm up, and then I would be off again into the grain stores, and as I say, that's where I'd kind of sort of be for the rest of the day. And as I say, that would take me a couple of weeks, I would say, to get through 5 piles, because as I say, the sheds were quite long, and you know, I'm one of these people as well that if I do a job, I've got to do it right, otherwise there's no point me doing it. And so therefore I was like, you know, really fine-eyeing it. You know, I mean, the boss man used to come in, you know, sort of, I don't know, I'd probably see him maximum twice a week. And he'd come in and say, like, you're doing a really good job, keep it up. But he'd always come in when I was on, like, when I was having, like, sort of, you know, a sort of 2 to 5 minute rest, because I had my drink in there with me as well, up on the platform. So you used to have to climb a vertical ladder, up onto the platform. From the platform, then you would walk along the platform, and then either side of that platform would be two grain piles, and then you would sort of do one, and then obviously go the other side, do the other, and then you'd leave that grain store, go down, go into the next one, and then it'd be the same again. And then they had, as I say, they had 5 up on the main farm, and then they had 2 smaller ones on the second farm. And the 2 smaller ones, I could get them done in the morning because they really were considerably smaller. So it used to be a case of, like, you know, you'd send me up there at 9 and say you should be done by lunch, and I'd think, well, I ain't done by lunch, something's gone wrong. I used to say to John, if I'm not back for lunch, come and look for me. And he'd say, no, I bloody ain't. He said, like, peace and quiet if you don't come back for lunch. So it's like, cheers, mate. But yeah, so but yeah, as I say, this morning it kind of just highlighted to me, really, you know, the difference, you know, back then, you know, sort of. And then in other jobs in the winter would include, like, logging and felling trees, and, like, you know, John would do that. I would sort of cart the logs from where we were cutting, usually back up a hill, and putting them in a trailer, and then the trailer that we had, it took all day to fill it, and I would just walk backwards and forwards all day. And the good thing was that I think John kind of knew that it wasn't the easiest thing in the world for me to do, walking up and down a hill all day, carrying sort of quite hefty logs. And so he used to stop for a rest. He used to say, "Oh, Jamie, I need to stop for a rest, mate." And I used to sort of look at him and think, no, you don't. You're doing that for me so that I don't get in trouble. So it was sort of, you know, really good of him. And I used to really appreciate him sort of taking 10 minutes. And the boss man would come and he'd say, what are you two doing? And John would say, I'm having a cup of tea. What does it look like I'm doing? And he said, Jamie can't do nothing if I'm having a cup of tea. And then John, the boss man, was like, oh yeah, that's all right, John, yeah. He said, I think that's hard work, is it? And John was like, he said, it's not necessarily hard work. He said, I just want a cup of tea. He said, I'm entitled to a drink. And yeah, that would be how he'd get away with that and get around that one. So it was all, you know, John was he was very much like that, very much like that. You know, he used to say to me, like, you know, if you need a rest, just say you need a rest. And then, you know, he said, I'll get, you know, he said, especially if, like, Ant-Man's coming, he said, then, you know, I'll get the flask out, and he said, I'll have a cup of tea. He said, he won't say no to me. He said, but he don't have no problem saying something to you. And I said, no. I said, I'm clearly the dispensable one on the farm. He said, no. He said, you don't answer in back like I do. I used to say to him, I said, I don't know how you do it. He said, well, I ain't going to get rid of me, are they? He said, come on. He said, look, he said, think about it logically. He said, they ain't going to get rid of me. So I said, well, I said, I guess not. I said, but no one's invincible. And he used to say, he goes, I am. He said, I am. He said, they ain't getting rid of me, mate. He said, honestly. And like, you know, I've told you stories before where, you know, and they're all true, you know, where, you know, we were, as I say, one year we were spring drilling, and you know, Monday morning comes along, a break in the weather, which meant we could get on, you know, sort of at the back end of the week before. The weather was set fair for sort of, you know, the next couple of weeks, but for the odd shower here and there, which doesn't really stop me drilling as long as they're not, you know, torrential. It doesn't really stop me drilling. And you know, and Anthony was sort of in that morning, you know, and I was in the workshop, and he was like, yeah, we'll get on today, James, we'll get on today, we'll get the beans drilled, we'll get the barley drilled, you know, we'll get the beans and the barley all in, you know. He said, like, you know, we'll be, he said, like, you know, it'd be, he said, we'll get on good. So I said, yeah, it should be a good week. He said, right, he said, get the power hour on your tractor. I was like, yeah. He said, go get a start. He said, I've written all the fields on the bit of paper. So I said, right. He said, and they're written in the order I want you to do them. So I said, okay, right, fair enough. Because sometimes he just used to write the field numbers down, and then sort of if he'd wrote 63 and 64, well, obviously I'd do 63 and 64 because I was already there, and it made sense to me, you know. So I would sort of, you know, then group them together so that I was never moving all that far until I moved to a new group. And he said, like, but I want them done in that order. He said, so it means you're going to be going backwards and forwards quite a lot. So I said, okay, fair enough. And we had the piece to drill as well, and what have you. It was really going to get on, like. And as I say, 2 weeks of sort of good weather for drilling, you know. And anyway, Monday sort of lunchtime came, still no John drilling, and I thought, oh, they must have a problem with the drill, you know. I thought, like, you know, so I rang Anthony and I said to him, I said, everything all right? And he said, no, not really. So I said, why? What's up? I said, is there a problem with the drill? He said, yeah, there is. He said, I'm not very happy, James. So I said, and I was like, well, I ain't touched it. You know, I was like, it's nothing to do with me. I ain't used it. And I said, why? He said, what? He said, I'll tell you what's wrong with the bloody drill seller. So I said, yeah. He said, ain't got no driver. I said, you what? He said, ain't got no driver. I said, what do you mean he ain't got no driver? He said, we ain't got no driver. He said, you know, a drill won't move unless the tractor moves. So I said, and I just like, my brain was like, huh? What's he talking about? So I said, well, I said, John's there, isn't he? He said, no, he ain't turned up. He said, and I keep ringing him. He said, but no answer. So I said, no. I said, well, perhaps something's happened to him then on the way down here. And he said, well, I don't know which way he comes. I said, well, I do. So he said, right then, he said, go and come back to the yard then. He said, get in your car. He said, and go look for him. So I said, all right. So I went back to the yard, get in the car, and go off and look for him. Anyway, there was no. I went literally all the way back to his house, because from where he lived, he lived about 5-6 miles from the farm, and look, it's sort of quite odd because from his door to the farm, he could have gone one of like sort of 5 ways, but obviously we sort of got talking over the years and, you know, got to know each other quite well. And he said, I always go that way. He said, so if ever I don't turn up for work, Jamie, go that way. So that's the way I go. So I said, all right, fair enough. And anyway, I went all the way back to his house, and his car was still in the drive. So I said, his car's in the drive. So he said, well, he said, did you go round there and knock on the door? I said, I did, in fact. I said, because I thought maybe he was ill. I said, no one answered. He said, oh right. He said, was the other car on the drive? I said, no, there weren't 2 cars on the drive, there's only his. So he said, oh right. He said, fair enough. So he said, well, he said, carry on. So I said, right. He said, carry on. He said, but go slower. And I thought, well, I have been going pretty slow anyway, because I thought, you know, don't want to get too far in front, just in case it does decide to go wet, you know. Just because they say it's going to be sunny, that doesn't mean that is what's going to happen, you know. So I was like, you know, I was like, okay. So anyway, I was sort of going nice and steady. Tuesday morning comes along. Right, get on your tractor. How far in front are you? So I said, yeah. I said, I did about a field and a half yesterday. So he said, right, get that field finished. He said, and then you'll have to come back to the yard. He said, I can't have you getting too far in front. So I said, no. So he said, you're going to have to come back. So I was like, yeah, so that's fine. So anyway, I went and got that other field done. Well, I went nice and slow again, so that took pretty much most of the day. So again, lunchtime comes and still no drill. So I said to Anthony, I said, not here. So he said, no. He said, I keep ringing him. He said, but he's not there. He said, I've even been to his house. He said, no, I'm knocking on the door. He said, but again, there's only his car there. He said, well, I know his wife don't work Tuesdays. So I said, all right. I said, how do you know that? He said, because whenever he books a day off, it's always a Tuesday. He said, and the Tuesday and Thursday, because his missus don't work those 2 days. So I said, oh, all right, yeah, that's fair enough. Like, you know, I said, good detective work that. So he said, have you ever drilled before? So I said, no. He said, well, it ain't that hard and you can do it. I was like, oh, okay. He said, you nearly got that field done. So I said, well, I said, yeah. I said, I've probably got another hour or two in here. I said, but yeah, I'm nearly finished. Get that field done. He said, and then you'll have to come back. He said, I'll have to give you a crash course in using the drill. He said, but I've never used it either. So I said, right. So he said, you'll have to just, you know, figure it out. He said, like, you know, he said, you'll have to use your own initiative. I know you don't have much of that. He said, but that's what you'll have to do. So I was like, that's a bit harsh. So yeah, okay. So anyway, I gets back to the yard, and then so I says to him, I says, so what am I supposed to do then? Put that on my tractor? He went, well, no, you'll have to drive his tractor, won't you? Because it's all set up for it, isn't it? I said, yeah, but I said, he don't let no one drive his tractor. He said, well, he's got no choice because he's not here, is he? He said, and he said, I don't know if you've noticed. I said, what's that? He said, he's left his key. So I said, all right, which John never left his tractor key because he didn't want no one driving his tractor, so he never ever left his tractor key. But he said he's left the tractor key in the ignition. So I was like, I went, oh, I said, that's odd. He said, yeah, exactly. He said, I got a feeling. He said, he ain't ill. He said, I got a feeling he's buggered off on holiday. So I was like, oh. I said, well, I don't know nothing about that, which I didn't. I mean, you know, it's not like he told me. You know, I genuinely didn't know anything about that, so I said, well, okay, fair enough. Anyway, so I cracked on with the drilling. We was drilling beans, and as I say, then we moved into the barley, and then we moved like sort of onto the peas. But what because happened was, he said, what we'll have to do is, he said, I'll have to get in, get Ray to come in. He said, like, and I'll have to drive the other bloody tractor. He said, and you're just out of drill. He said, like, you know, he said, I'm not being funny, mate. He said, I was a bit worried when I said you got to drill it. I said to Dad, I said, this is going to be a bloody cock up and mess, this is. He said, but actually, he said, you're doing a really good job. And I said, well, ain't that hard. I said, like, literally just got to drive them down a field, putting seed in the ground. I said, like, you know, I said, it's not that difficult. He said, yeah, but he said, how do you know what depth to have it? And, you know, he said, like, you're altering depths for different. And I said, well, I said, it's just common sense. I said, the thing is, I said, like, I would be able to do a lot more. I said, if you just had a little bit of faith. I said, but you never do. You always think the worst of me. I said, like, I don't know. I said, I'll be honest with you. I said, I don't know why you employed me. I said, like, I really don't. I said, like, because I said, like, you just sort of always think, you know, sort of the worst, you know. I said, like, it's a bit worrying, really. And he was like, he goes, yeah. He said, but he said, I ain't being funny. You make quite a few mistakes. And I said, but I was new to the job. I said, like, of course I made mistakes. I said, that's how you learn. I said, like, I didn't kill no one. I didn't break nothing. I didn't damage no machinery, buildings, or anything else. And he went, well, that's not strictly true, is it? And I went, well, no. I said, a lean-to sort of, unfortunately, had its life cut short. I said, but that wasn't necessarily my fault. He said, well, you was on the tractor. I said, yeah. I said, but it was my foot's fault. It weren't my fault. I said, I didn't slip off the pedal. My foot did. And he goes, yeah. He said, same thing, I think you'll find. I said, nah, I'm not having it. I said, that definitely weren't my fault. And yeah, so but I got on really well. You know, sort of drilling that one. I really enjoyed it as well. Like, it was really, really good to actually do some what I considered sort of proper farming. You know, to actually do a sort of you know, an import. I mean, I was the sprayman on the farm, and I mean that was the other thing. You know, I'd never done any spraying when I went there, and sort of literally just jumped on the sprayer and sort of did it. The only thing I needed help with was because I've got dyscalculia, which basically is to have dyslexia means, you know, you get words back to front and, you know, etc, etc, etc. You know, sort of everyone knows what dyslexia is, but not many people know what dyscalculia is. Well, dyscalculia is the same as dyslexic, but only with numbers. So whilst I can read numbers, and I can read any number, you know, from 1 to, you know, a billion, you know, just to give you some sort of, you know, I could read all of those numbers individually. What I can't do is, although I can read 1 and I can read, you know, 50, I don't necessarily know what that means, and that is really weird to say that, and that takes a lot to admit that to a lot of people out there in YouTube land that are very intelligent and, you know, sort of think, oh, what's he talking about? You know, like, it's literally that. I can read a number, I just don't know what it means. It's, you know, the same that some dyslexics that I've met have been really good readers, but, you know, they don't have a clue what they're reading. They're just reading letters, you know, or words. You know, they're reading words, but, you know, sort of have no concept of the meaning of the words they're reading. So therefore, none of it makes any sense. Whereas obviously, I can read something, understand it, and then, you know, sort of do it. For them, they just reading words. Well, that's how it is with numbers. With me, I just see numbers, but I don't really, you know, when you start saying, well, add 50 to, you know, 20, or, you know, 6,000 and add 50, you know, that's, to me, you know, for a long time, that was 6,050, you know, and which I now know is the right answer, but it's hard to explain. So if I had to divide something, times something, take something away, I would struggle. I can add fairly well. You know, I can add up reasonably well, but all of the others, and so working out sort of the amount of a chemical that I would need, to the amount of water, to the amount of hectares that I still had to drill, I couldn't do that. Like, so what happened was that the boss man used to work it all out and say, this field you'll need this much. So, you know, he might say this field full tank, and then he would put equals, and then he would say, I want, you know, sort of, you know, just off the top of my head, so this isn't going to be right, but say 3,000 litres of water and 200 litres of, you know, chemical or whatever, you know. So he, you know, he would sort of lay it out like that, and then I would, you know, sort of be able to fill it just by following the instructions that were written down. So yeah, I took to that, you know, sort of relatively well and relatively quickly. As I said, you know, as long as you work it out, I can do the rest. And as I say, he sort of looked at me and went, well, why can't you work it out? And I said, because I don't really get numbers, I don't understand them. You know, I can't really work it out. You know, I said, like, it's just really hard to explain, but I can't do it. And so the thing was, like, that has been obviously the same all my life, but it never got, I want to be this side. Let's just turn that off. I want to be this end, because I want to come obviously back down where I'm going to leave the field, and I want to be leaving in a field where I've got to turn around and go back to the corner again, opposite corner. Yeah, so, but yeah, anyway, we carried on drilling for the fortnight, and then so the third Monday of week, the Monday of week 3, the week I was due to finish the drilling, because I'd been getting on really well, and I'd been going in weekends as well, and yeah, as I say, the week that I was due to finish seeding, and on that Monday he rocked up. And he rocked up with an absolute stunning suntan. And he said to me, he said, where's the boss man? I said, the boss man is not here this morning. I said, he's in a meeting. I said, and he's had to go to Worth's, to the meeting. So I said, he's not here this morning. I said, anyway, I said, there's a more pressing question. He said, what's that? I said, where the f have you been? He said, I've been on my holes. I said, you've been on your holes? He said, yeah. He said, I went on holiday. I said, did you have it booked off, like? And he ain't realised. He said, nah. He said, he said, what happened was, he said, on the Saturday, he said, before we went on the Sunday, Mrs. said to me, she said, oh, I had an email from whoever company they go with. So she said, right, he said, and they've got some tickets to, or a holiday available in Portugal for like really dirt cheap. And she was like, she goes, I've got a week off next week. And he was like, he goes, oh, he goes, he said, I haven't. He said, I didn't know that. And she said, well, no, she said, because she said, I actually had something planned. She said, but it's not going to happen now. So he said, right. So she said to me, do you fancy going on holiday then for a fortnight in Portugal? And he said, and I was sort of thinking, yeah, we've had a, hard, rough, wet, cold winter. He thought, could do with a bit of sun. He said, yeah, we'll do it. So she said, I'll book it, yeah. So anyway, she booked it. And of course, Sunday morning they set off for the airport, and I said, why didn't you tell Andy? He said, well, he said, nothing to do with him. So I said, in theory, I said it was. I said because obviously, I said he planned that we were going to be drilling this, this last fortnight. I said, and you're his drillman. I said, so I said, you could have just said, hello, Andy, I'm ringing you from the airport. I'm not coming in this week, you'll have to sort something out. I said, I said he's been in a foul bloody mood all week. I said, yeah, first week, I said he was in a foul mood. I said, second week, he was in a bit better mood. I said, but not much better mood. I said, because, I said, we were actually quite worried about you. I said, but I said, I must admit, I did sort of figure out quite early on. I thought, that fucker's gone on holiday and not told no one. He said, how did you figure that out? I said, he sent me round yours to go get you. He said, he what? He said, I'll be telling him not to do that in the future. He said, I said, I'm not happy about that. I said, but your car was there, but your missus' car wasn't. So he said, how did you figure it? I said, well, because I said, when I used to go to Emma's in the night, I said, after work, I said, I used to go home for my tea, have a shower and that, and then go to Emma's. I said, I said, your car was still there, but her car wasn't. I said, well, we both know she finishes at 2 in the afternoon. And I said, it's a bit odd that her car weren't there, every night, if it's not there one night, but it's there the next night. Well, she went out, she had something to do. She went to Tesco, she went wherever. I said, but I said, the fact that it weren't there, I said, every night. I said, I did quickly realise, I said, and she has the better car because yours is an old banger. I said, and so I quickly realised, I said, the two of you had gone on holiday. I said, I don't know where you have the nerve. He was like, he goes, yeah, he goes, he said, like I said to you, Jamie, he said, they ain't getting rid of me, mate. Anyway, later that morning, John was drilling, and I see the boss man coming by, and obviously I was in the field pulling down, and and as I say, it was just really funny because the boss man was on his tractor for quite a long time. But the thing is, because at lunchtime, I said to John, I said, what did he say? He said, nothing. He said in the end, he asked me if I had a good holiday. I said, I'm going to try that. He said, what's that? I said, I'm just going to not come in 1 week. I said, and just have holiday. He said, I wouldn't. He said, you'd get the sack. So I said, how's that fair? He said, well, he said, I've worked here, he said, 30 some odd years. He said, you've worked here 5 minutes. He said, and you're replaceable because anyone can do your jobs. He said, but, he said, yeah, all right, there's a lot of people in the world that could do my jobs. He said, but, he said, why would you want to go to that hassle? He said, of looking for someone else that can do all what I can do when you've already got me. He said, don't make sense, does it? And I said to him, I said, well, I suppose not. I said, I got to be honest. I said, what's that? I said, if I was the boss man, I said, and you did that to me, he said, yeah. I said, I'd be looking for someone else that could be doing your job. He said, well, I thought we were friends. I said, we are. I said, but business don't have friends. I said, business just relies on money. I said, not friends. He said, and that young man is the reason why you're a loner in the world. I said to him, I said, no, I'm a loner in the world because I choose to be. I said, anyway, I said, I got a missus. I said, I ain't that much of a bloody loner. And honestly, he said there that day, she went, yeah, she'll leave you. He said, she'll have an affair, she'll leave you. I said, oh, thanks. He said, oh, just telling you. He said, remember last summer? So I was like, yeah. He said, I had her on the combine with me, didn't I? I said, yeah. He said, yeah. I said, what did she tell you then? He said, she didn't really tell me anything. He said, but I can just tell. And I say, you know, and that is eventually what happened. I know in today's world that's a fair chance that that could happen. So he said to me, he said, do you want to start looking for someone else? I said, no, I'm perfectly happy. I said, like, you know, I'm all right. I said, if she goes, she goes. I said, like, but I said, no, I ain't doing it dirty. I said, like, I ain't doing that. I said, like, you know, I'm perfectly happy. I said, and you're more than likely wrong. I said, because as far as I know, she's perfectly happy and all. And he said, well, he said she's happy when she gets to come and sit with me for a couple of 3 hours, because like she used to say to me, can I come to work with you when we were combining? Can I come to work with you? And he used to be like, well, you can after tea. I said, they won't mind after tea. I said, but you can't be there in the daytime. I said, I don't think they'd like that. I said, but I'll pick you up after tea. So she was like, okay. And as I say, I used to pick her up, and then we'd get to the field, or we'd either get to the field or get to the farm, wherever my tractor was, sort of thing, like. And then if John was, you know, sort of coming in the truck to the field to get back on the combine, and then she used to go, hello John, and then he'd go, hello love, are you all right? And then she'd say, yeah, and he'd say, are you coming with me then? She'd be like, yeah, I want to ride on the combine. I said, why don't you just ask John if you can come to work with him? She's like, sorry. So I said, well, I said, you know, I said, whatever. Yeah, so. But yeah, good times. Good times. I still didn't harvest that bit. Look, I've been over it 3 times. Oh well, must be in a dip. But yeah, so. But that world seems a long way, you know, seems a long time ago now. You know, and it I don't know. It kind of sort of. I know it's gonna again sound a bit weird and a bit odd, but it does upset me. Like, you know, because I sort of think, oh, you know, I had a life once. I, you know, went out to work. I, you know, did this, I did that, you know, and what have you. And sort of now, you know, I have to sort of kind of plan each day on the day, because I don't know how I'm gonna feel until I get up that morning. You know, I mean, I think in the end, this is kind of what you know, kind of got sort of to be the problem really between myself and you know, my ex that I broke up with last year. Was I think sometimes her and her daughter kind of had sort of things in their mind that they wanted to do on a given day, and they would be like, you know, she would be like sort of planning it for all of us, and then I would wake up that day, you know, not be having a good day and saying, I can't manage that, you know, and then sort of not going. I think that used to sort of really get to, I mean, it didn't happen very often, but I can think of at least 3 times that it happened. um and you know, I mean, we were together like, you know, sort of 2 years, and I think that is what kind of puts people off, sort of like being, you know. And I think that's because, like, I used to have friends who I was sort of the lads I was friends with from school, and then we kind of sort of grew up and what have you, and then they would be like, oh, are you coming out this weekend? And it would be like, I'll tell you at the weekend, you know. And it's like, well, that's no good because we need to buy the tickets now. And it's like, oh, I can't tell you till the weekend. And you know, and eventually, because they stopped, you know, sort of asking, you know, if you wanted to go out. And I, so, you know, I think that's how I've kind of ended up sort of the way that I am. Not that I mind, you know, it's okay. I mean, I sort of, you know, please myself, you know, sort of at the weekends, you know, I go racing, you know, when I feel okay, and you know, when I'm sort of feeling all right, and I sort of wake up on the Saturday and think, yeah, I'm okay. I mean, I remember remember when we was me and my ex uh, that I broke up with, as I say, last year. We went the first year we were together. Her daughter went on holiday with her granny, and you know, she said to me, you know, we should have a holiday. You know, we'd be, you know, without you know, without my daughter, you know, we should have a holiday. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Where do you want to go? So she's like, she goes, is there anywhere you want to go? So I said, I'd quite like to go to Scotland, I've got to be honest. So she said, I'd like to see Scotland too. Yeah, she said, we'll go there. She said, there's lots of things for us to see. She said, like, you know, you've got Edinburgh Castle, you've got this, that, and everything else. You know, she said, oh, you know, things that we could go and look at. So I was like, yeah, yeah. I said, sounds like a really good idea. And anyway, we sort of went on the well, we left Monday morning, so our holiday started sort of on the Monday, and the plan was that we was going to drive down on the Sunday so that we had the whole of Monday in Scotland, but their flight got delayed till Sunday afternoon. So the plan was that they were going Sunday morning. We were dropping them off at Stansted, and then driving from Stansted all the way to Scotland, and then that would be sort of night time, and then we would either find a hotel for the night, you know, like a travel lodge or whatever. The hotel chains are available, so I don't get in trouble with the broadcasters. And I wouldn't, even in this country, I wouldn't get in trouble, but I just thought I'd say that as a giggle. Yeah, so, you know, that was kind of our plan, you know, that was what we had in mind. Anyway, as I say, their flight got delayed till sort of late Sunday evening, and or Sunday afternoon. I think their flight was about 5 o'clock Sunday in the end, and so therefore we didn't get back to the house from Stansted till like sort of 7. And she was like, I'll tell you what we'll do. So I said, yeah. We'll have a little bit of light tea. So I said, yeah. She said, and then we'll go to bed. So I said, right. She said, we'll sleep. She said, we'll get up at about 2, and then we'll set off at 3. She said, because all we got to do is load the cases into the car and then just go. Yeah, fair enough, you know. So that's what we did. You know, that was sort of what we did, set off at 3 that day. And as I say, that Monday I sort of woke up, and she was like, how you feeling? So I said, yeah, I feel alright in a minute. I said, like, let's just crack on while I feel alright. And so that's what we did. And like, she needed sort of quite a while to wake up, whereas I'm one of these people, as soon as I'm awake, I'm ready to go. I'm already there. I don't need caffeine. I don't need sort of, caffeine and cigarettes has always been sort of said in the house that I grew up in. I need caffeine and cigarettes, and then I can go. 5 cigarettes, 2 cups of caffeine, and then I'm ready for it. And whereas for myself, I could just sort of wake up and think, right, I'm ready. Let's go. And so while she was sort of waking up with coffee and God knows what else, I was loading the car with the cases and what have you. We got down there, and then and I'd had a fairly sort of decent week. And then on the Thursday, she said to me, on the Wednesday, we went on a ferry to a place called Paul Rock from Dunoon, and it was fantastic. It was, bugger was it rough. Right, the ferry was up and down, side to side and everything, and I'd never been on a boat before. So I got a bit of a rude awakening, and we sort of sat in the car, and the sort of car was going up in the air vertical, and then just dropping back down again. And I said to her, I don't think I'm going to be very well in a minute. And she said, I feel the same. So I said to her, anyway, we managed to get to the other side. Luckily I wasn't poorly or seasick or anything. So we get off, and then on the way back, because it was still as rough, and I said to her, I'm going to have to get out. I said, I can't sit in here. I said, this is making me feel really queasy and ill. So I got out, stood on the side, and standing on the side, because then I could see the water and I could kind of see the reason why we were going up and down. And honestly, I found my sea legs, and I was loving it. Like, you know, I was sort of loving it. And when we was on the ferry coming back, she said to me, she said, tomorrow should we go to Edinburgh Castle in Edinburgh? She said, have a good look round. She said, and then tomorrow night, she said, I thought what we could do is we could get some tea in Edinburgh. So I was like, right. She said, and then I was like, yeah. She said, and then we could go on the ghost walks around Edinburgh. You know, she said, like, it doesn't start till 11. She said, and it ends at 3. So I said, yeah, alright, that's fair enough. She said, like, will you be okay? So I said, well, I don't know that until I get there. I said, but, you know, yeah, I should, you know, hopefully. I said, you know, hopefully. So she was like, she goes, yeah, alright. She said, should we do that? So I said, yeah, we'll do that. Woke up Thursday morning, absolutely fine, you know, not a problem. You know, woke up, had a shower, you know, got ready to go. You know, a cup of tea. She said, we'll have a bit of breakfast, because it's about 3 hours from here, because we were staying in a place called Goylehead, or Goylehead, I think it was, which was in the grounds of the castle on a massive hill. Honestly, it was stunning. Like, it really was stunning. I mean, Scotland is a very beautiful place. If anyone ever gets the chance to go to Scotland, I highly recommend it. It's absolutely beautiful. Scotland is. You know, the one thing that sort of surprised us about Scotland was the waterfalls. Oh, they were majestic, and they were everywhere. You know, they were by the sides of roads. They were, like, honestly, the waterfalls were everywhere, like, and they were really, really beautiful, absolutely stunning. There's one on the way to Dunoon from Goylehead. You go on this fairly long road. It's about 25 miles long. This road is. And you get sort of more towards the Dunoon end of it, and you come to this old bridge, and we came to this bridge, and there's a bungalow on the right hand side as you're driving towards Dunoon, and we get into this bridge, and I said to her, I said, can you hear that noise? And she was like, listening, and she's like, she goes, what, that light? I said, that sounds like a torrent of water. And I said, like, you know, like, and sort of we started looking around trying to find this water, and we got just on this bridge, and we looked to the left, and honestly, oh my god, it was the biggest waterfall I had ever seen in my life. And it was all in, you know, like sometimes people make really pretty sort of waterfall, you know, sort of water features in their gardens. It just, honestly, it was on sort of like slate rock, and it was just sort of falling off, and there was all greenery and shrubbery around it. Like, honestly, it was the most idyllic, beautiful thing I have ever seen in my life. And there was a sign on it saying, you climb this at your own risk. And I said to her, I said, who the hell's climbing it? And she went, well, she goes, obviously people like doing that. I said, wouldn't you just want to stand and look at it? She goes, well, clearly some people want to climb it. I said, bloody weird people in the world, if you ask me. Anyway, we get back into there. So on the Thursday, we get up, we get in the car, we're on our way. Right, we're on our way, because I got a little bit distracted there by the waterfalls. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Anyway, yeah, that's enough of Eternal. We get in the car, we're going to Edinburgh. Alright, we set off. We go sort of, I think we got quite close to, if we didn't actually go through Glasgow. But I remember her saying to me, and reading the signs, and it's saying Glasgow, and then we sort of passed some other places as well. I can't really remember what they were now, because it was a few years ago. And I've only ever been once, so it's not like you know, a sort of journey I've done regular, because I've only ever done it once in my life, and it was then. And we're out in sort of like the countryside now, and I think the sign, if I remember rightly, she said, oh, it's about 50 some odd miles to Edinburgh. So I said, okay. So she goes, while we're going to Edinburgh, so I said, yeah. She said, we'll go to the Forth Bridge, we'll have a look round there, she said, and then we'll go over it if you want to go over it, she said, and then we'll just come back the other way. So I said, right. She said, and then she said, there is actually a train that you can get on to go over it as well. So I said, right. She said, do you want to do the train? It was fairly early in the morning. It was about 8 o'clock in the morning. We'd set off early. So she said, do you want to go on the train over it? So I said, well, we'll see when we get there. I said, like, you know, is that a plan? So she's like, yeah. She goes, like, you know, she said the day is as much yours as it is mine. So I said, like, you know, I said, oh, you know, thanks. So anyway, we were on the way, about 50-some miles. I was sort of sitting there, and she said, I hope you don't mind me saying something. So I said, no. I said, say what you want. She said, you're very quiet. I said, yeah. She said, you alright? And I said, and she went, oh, okay. She said, do you want me to just be quiet for a bit? I said, no. I said, I'd rather you talk, but I'm not probably going to be very sort of talky-backy. I said, because, you know, I said, I'm finding it exceptionally hard to breathe at the moment. And she was like, okay. And then suddenly, like, the heart rate started to, like, go really, really fast, then drop to nothing, where I'd sort of get on the verge of passing out, and then it'd go really fast again and sort of bring me back again, and then it was like doing this, and I'm sort of sitting there, and then in the end, I don't know whether I passed out or whether I just fell asleep, because it physically wears me out, like, instantly, like, so quickly. And anyway, I sort of kept them waking, and she goes like, are you alright? I said, yeah, I said, I'm fine, just keep going. I said, like, and she said, well, do you want to turn back? I said, no. I said, if you can get to Edinburgh, I said, God forbid if the worst happens, I said, at least there'll be a hospital there. And she was like, she goes, yeah, good thinking. I said, like, I said, you're nearer to Edinburgh now than you are anywhere else. I said, you've got to keep going. And she was like, yeah. She said, no, you know, she said, yeah, good thinking. So anyway, we get there, and I say this has been happening for, you know, sort of, it had been happening for probably about an hour and a half, and I hadn't said anything. I've just been sort of really, you know, if I go really quiet, that's when you know something's wrong with me, because I'd like sort of chatter about anything and everything. I bet you're all surprised by that, aren't you? and like I say, and it had been going on quite a while. Anyway, we got to Edinburgh, and you know, she was like, how do you feel? She, because the hospital apparently is that way. So I said, yeah, I said, I feel okay at the moment. I said, well, I said, I don't feel okay. I said, but I don't feel like anything bad's going to happen. So she was like, okay. So she said, do you want to get out and walk? And I said, oh, to be honest, no. I said, because I haven't got the energy. I said, and plus with it up and down, I said, like, I'm going to keep falling over. I said, and like, I'm, you know, showing you up, embarrassing myself. I said, because that's what happens when that starts happening. I have to sit, because otherwise I keep falling down. So when my heart rate goes up, I can stand. When it drops down to nearly nothing, that's when I fall down. Because obviously, you know, the body doesn't have the blood pressure and everything to hold me up. And honestly, it was like, it just literally came out of the blue. And I think, you know, my point being is I think that's why a lot of people sort of don't necessarily kind of want to go out with me as such, because they, you know, are a little bit worried, oh, hang on a minute, if this kicks off while we're out, you know, or if the, you know, A, I don't really want the hassle, B, I don't really know what to do, and there isn't anything anyone can do apart from, obviously, if I do, you know, sort of collapse to the ground, call an ambulance would be, you know, relatively helpful in that situation. But apart from that, there's not really anything else anyone can do, and I think, I'd say that's why it is. But this morning when I was sort of struggling, and it's not too bad at the moment, it keeps going sort of up and down a bit, but it's sort of as a whole not too bad. And you know, I sort of, it's days like today and I sort of start thinking about, you know, well, you know, I used to work on a farm, I used to do this, I used to play football, I used to ride bikes, I used to, you know, plan something weeks ahead or months ahead, you know, or do you know what I mean? Like, I could just literally, you know, there was a period in my life when I could just get up and do whatever I wanted, whatever day, you know, it just didn't matter, you know, and now I can't. And the thing that's most upsetting about it is, with everything that's going on in this country at the moment, there's been quite a few people, as there is all over the world, I have no doubt, but that have been sort of kind of, if you like, for the want of a better expression, but cheating the benefit system. And those people have now made it that the government have gone, do you know what? No, all of you can go back to work. And it's kind of like, you know, as, you know, I'm dreading the letter when it comes, you know, because I know it's coming, I just don't know when. You know, and I sort of think, you know, but I can't, you know, there's, as much as I'd like to, you know, I'd love to be able to go back and work on a farm, or, you know, sort of do whatever, do you know what I mean, like, you know, but yeah, it's day like today, and it does highlight what my life was to what my life is now, you know, now that, you know, sort of things have changed, and as I say, it's, you know, it's a lottery every day that I get up as to how I'm going to feel, and but never mind. Anyway, this soybean harvest is going particularly well. It's not yielding too badly actually, because these are relatively small fields compared to what we've been doing. So for relatively sort of small fields, so you remember this is the field where we just quickly get off. So crossed. Just looking for the mini map, which I think it was about here somewhere, wasn't it? There was two. Yeah, there we go. Look, two trees together. So across here was a big row of trees, and those trees also went all the way down there on that grass there. Actually, we should be able to see it from this grass, because yeah, there it is. So this is actually where the trees went, where it went through. So there was grass here. Oh, just to the side of the two trees, I think was probably my measurement. Yeah, went across there. So it was all trees and sort of that sort of grass, and then the same across there, because I could sort of, I started to go that way because I'm going to end up doing all of those trees that you can see right the way across there, because even those trees you can see right through the trees at the front here, all those trees right at the back, we own all of that as well. It's a massive area, this is. I didn't realise how big this area was, and it goes all the way out there to those trees and round to that other field. So the field, well, we didn't buy the whole field off the dairy, but what we did do was we bought the back side of the field off the dairy. So the dairy, as you remember, this field up here, um, I think it was the one we harvested the wheat out of. I'm going to need to run through the trees because there's a fence there. Not into the trees, James. Through the trees, not into the trees. Good boy. Yeah, so this field, here we go. So this line here is where our field used to end. So just here, it used to end at this bit here. Go across there. Well, I'll go across here. So there was a bit of grass, and then the dairy field, and this dairy field, this side, was joined on to the field over in that direction. Like I say, the big field that we drilled, that we harvested the wheat out of. So just the other side of that grass there. But we bought the back end of the dairy field so that they had a nice big square field. We could extend our field because it wasn't very big. So we extended our field, and then kind of it left this field, or this part of the field, with nothing in it. And I've been sort of, you know, what do I do with it? You know, I don't really want the field to go round here, because then it makes a really awkward shape field for us then. And then I sort of thought, well, hang on a minute, we own all of this, like all of this round here, all the way down to here, all of that across there. I thought, we own all of this. Why don't we eventually put a grass border, a proper grass verge along this side of the field here, to then make this its own field, take all the trees out, and then make it like a relatively big field. Now, we ain't going to be doing that overnight. You know, it's not going to be like, you know, one winter we're going to do that. That's going to take several winters and several years for us to do this. It doesn't matter the fact that it isn't level here, because like I say, it can be, you know, it'll become a field, and if it's sort of too lumpy, we can sort of level it off ourselves a bit. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm sort of thinking. As I say, then it comes back all the way through back here then into this field, which this field we sort of chopped quite a bit off, if you remember. So I'm actually going to drill proper grass into here to make a proper grass verge, but I've put that down just at the moment, this texture down just for the moment, so that I've got a border to work with. Otherwise I kind of sort of, you know, the field will start getting back towards the trees again. But I wanted a big area runoff so that I could park vehicles here while I'm cutting these trees down. And as I say, it's a big area runoff, so that's kind of the plan and what we're going to do. But anyway, I am going to leave this episode here. As I say, we've harvested the we've harvested most of the soybeans. I'll just do this little bit off camera. It's not going to take above 10 minutes, and then in the next episode we've got some ploughing to do. We've also got some muck spreading to do as well, because the field just over there needs doing. What was the cornfield? You'll remember that in the last episode we started it, or an episode last week, we started doing that. We started doing this field, and then so we've got that one to finish muck spreading. We've got this one to muck spread that we're in now, and then obviously the one that we were in right at the start of the episode. So they need to be muck spread. As I say, we've got some ploughing to do. We've got a little bit of drilling down here to do. In terms of some wheat that we're going to put in. So the wheat's going to go in where the corn is, or where the corn stubble is, so that field just there, what we're muck spreading, and as I say, that's all going to be done, and then yeah, we should be about there, I think, hopefully, if I've left enough time to get the the field muck spread and ploughed. Hopefully I have, but I'm sure we'll make a job of it somehow. We usually do. But anyway, as I say, I am going to leave this episode here. I've literally got another, sort of couple of rounds to do, and then this field is done. And I can't wait to see you in the next one. Thanks very much for listening. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this content, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe as well, and hit that notification bell so that you get notified when I drop a video, which is every day at 3 PM. And if you have liked what you've seen today and in the past, why not leave a comment? It's always great to get comments, and as I say, I always do reply. Not always straight away, because I don't always get them straight away, or see them straight away, with me doing other things, but I will always reply to them. And yeah, thanks ever so much for watching. I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.